The glow of Lisa Mena's phone screen cast eerie shadows across her bedroom walls as she mindlessly scrolled through Instagram. The digital clock on her nightstand read 1:17 a.m., but sleep remained elusive. Outside her Kilimani apartment, Nairobi's nocturnal symphony played on, the distant honking of matatus, the bass line from a club several blocks away, the occasional shout echoing through the concrete canyons of the city. Her thumb moved automatically, swiping past sponsored posts, vacation photos from acquaintances she barely knew, and the endless stream of content that had become the background noise of her life. Then the notification appeared. The Oracle_Co had tagged her in a story. Lisa paused, her thumb hovering over the screen. She'd heard whispers about this account in group chats and seen it mentioned in hushed tones at coffee shops. In just 3 months, it had amassed nearly 500,000 followers, becoming something of a dark digital legend across Kenyan social media. Some called it a modern-day prophet. Others warned it was something far more dangerous. The more skeptical dismissed it as an elaborate hoax, another internet phenomenon that would fade as quickly as it had appeared. With a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, Lisa tapped the notification. The story opened to reveal stark white text against a pure black background, at Lisa_Mena, 48 hours left. Repent. Beneath the ominous message, a single hourglass emoji paused faintly, as if breathing. Lisa's breath caught in her throat for just a second before she scoffed. Another online scammer, she muttered to the empty bedroom, her voice sounding unnaturally loud in the quiet space. She took a screenshot and posted it to her own story with the caption, "When the prophets come for your coins at midnight, face with tears of joy #Scam_alert #Nairobi Nights." Setting her phone aside, she rolled over and closed her eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. The message lingered at the edges of her consciousness like a half-remembered nightmare, its simple words carrying an inexplicable weight that unsettled her more than she cared to admit. Morning came too soon, the Nairobi sun streaming through her thin curtains with relentless enthusiasm. Lisa was reaching for her phone to silence her alarm when it began vibrating with an incoming call. Amoni's name flashed on the screen, unusually early for her night owl friend. "Lisa, that account you posted about last night." Amoni's voice was tight with a concern that immediately banished the last remnants of sleep from Lisa's mind. "People are saying it's real. There was a guy in Mombasa last week who got a message just like yours and..." Lisa sat up abruptly, the sheets pulling around her waist. "And what? He died, Lisa?" Amoni's voice dropped to a whisper. "Exactly 48 hours later. Hit by a matatu that jumped the curb near Nyali Beach. They are saying the Oracle posted about it minutes before it happened." A cold finger traced its way down Lisa's spine. She opened Instagram with trembling fingers and searched for @Oracle_Co. The account had no profile picture, just a blank black square that seemed to swallow light. Its bio read simply, "The future is already written. I just read it first." The most recent post showed a screenshot of a Nation article about the Mombasa accident with the caption, "I tried to warn him. Who's next?" Below it, the comment section had become a battleground. "A true believer, the Oracle sees all. Repent sinners." @Skeptic101, fake news. This account is probably run by the same people causing these accidents. @Nairobi Gossip, my cousin works at KNH. They said the victim had bruises on his neck before the accident. Lisa's morning coffee tasted suddenly bitter. She spent her lunch break digging deeper, her sandwich forgotten as she fell down a rabbit hole of Reddit threads and obscure forum posts. The more she searched, the more cases she uncovered where the Oracle's predictions had come true with unsettling precision. A banker who drowned in his bathtub after being warned to avoid water. A politician who collapsed during a live TV debate moments after the Oracle posted his initials. A university student who fell from her dormitory balcony hours after being tagged in a story with a single word, "for." Each time, the Oracle had posted about it first. Each time, the victim had publicly mocked or dismissed the warning. And each time, the death had been ruled an accident, a suicide, or natural causes by authorities. The office air conditioning seemed to grow colder as Lisa's research continued. She discovered that the Oracle_Co had first appeared 3 months earlier, with a single post that read, "The future is already here." Its early predictions had been vague: weather patterns, stock market fluctuations, celebrity breakups, things that could easily be guessed or fabricated. But as its following grew, so did the specificity and darkness of its prophecies. By the time Lisa left work that evening, the sun was setting over Nairobi's skyline, painting the glass towers in hues of orange and red. The beauty of the scene was lost on her as she sat in traffic on Wayoki Way, her fingers drumming nervously against the steering wheel. The notification, when it came, made her jump so violently she nearly dropped her phone. A direct message from @Oracle_Ku, "You didn't believe me, Lisa. Now you have 36 hours. Would you like to know how it happens?" Her fingers trembled as she typed her response, "Who is this really? What kind of sick joke is this?" The reply came instantly, "No joke. Check your brakes." Lisa's breath came in short, sharp gasps as she looked up at the traffic around her. She was boxed in between a matatu and a truck, crawling along at a snail's pace. With shaking hands, she started her car, and immediately the dashboard lit up with a warning she'd never seen before: braking system error, service required. The drive home was the longest 20 minutes of her life. Every stoplight, every intersection, every pedestrian crossing became a potential death trap. She arrived at her apartment building with her shirt clinging to her back with sweat, her hands locked in a death grip on the steering wheel. The next morning, the Tesla service center found nothing wrong with her brakes. "Probably just a software glitch," the technician said with a shrug. "Happens sometimes with these new models. We've reset the system, you should be fine." The police were even less helpful. The officer at the Kilimani station barely looked up from his computer as Lisa explained her situation. "Come back if something actually happens, madam," he said dismissively. "We can't arrest someone for sending scary messages on Instagram." Even her closest friends thought she was overreacting. Over cocktails at Brew Bistro that evening, Amoni rolled her eyes. "You're letting some internet troll win," she said, sipping her mojito. "It's probably just some kid in his mom's basement having a laugh. Don't give him the satisfaction." Lisa wanted to believe that. She desperately wanted to believe that. But as the hours ticked down, as the deadline approached, she found herself jumping at every sound, checking over her shoulder in every reflective surface, sleeping with all the lights on. At exactly 11:58 p.m., 2 minutes before the 48-hour mark would expire, her phone lit up with one final message: "Look outside, Lisa." Against every screaming instinct in her body, she walked to her apartment window and peered through the blinds. The parking lot below was mostly empty at this hour, illuminated by the sickly yellow glow of sodium vapor lights. And there, standing motionless near her assigned parking spot, was a figure. Their face was illuminated by the glow of a phone screen, casting strange shadows across their features. As Lisa watched, frozen in place, the person slowly held up their device. A notification appeared on Lisa's own phone at the exact same moment: "Time's up." The last thing Lisa saw was the sudden flash of headlights as a black SUV with no license plates came speeding through the parking lot, directly toward her building. The impact shattered her window just as her phone buzzed one last time with a message from the Oracle: "Told you." 3 weeks later, Zahara Mongi sat in her usual corner at Nairobi's Jova House, the morning sun streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The steaming cup of chai in front of her had gone cold, forgotten as she scrolled through Lisa Mena's memorial page on her laptop. Another accidental death. Another eerie prediction from @Oracle_Ku that had come true with terrifying precision. As an investigative journalist specializing in cybercrime for the Daily Truth, Zahara had been tracking the rise of @Oracle_Ku since its first confirmed victim. What had begun as curiosity had quickly turned into something resembling obsession as the body count grew and the patterns emerged. The police called the deaths coincidences. The public was divided between those who worshipped the Oracle as some kind of digital deity and those who lived in fear of being tagged next. But Zahara knew better. She knew what real patterns looked like, and these weren't coincidences. Her research had revealed an unsettling consistency to the Oracle's victims. All were young professionals aged 25 to 35. Each had been active on social media, with significant followings. Every death occurred within exactly 48 hours of being tagged. The methods varied wildly: accidents, suicides, natural causes, but always left just enough room for plausible deniability. Most chilling of all, each victim had publicly mocked or dismissed the oracle's warning before their death. Most people miss the most important pattern of all. Every single one of the victims had, at some point in the months before their death, been involved with controversial tech projects or startups. Not just any tech projects, but specifically those dealing with artificial intelligence, predictive algorithms, and data modeling. Zahara's editor had rejected her pitch to investigate. "It's just another internet hoax," he'd said, barely looking up from his computer. "People die every day. Sometimes coincidences happen. Write about something people actually care about." But when Zahara discovered that 3 of the victims had been working with the same experimental AI startup before their deaths, she knew this was no coincidence. Someone was systematically eliminating people, and they were using social media as both weapon and alibi. Her phone buzzed with a message from her contact in the cybercrimes unit: "Meet me at Simas. 8 p.m., come alone." The restaurant was crowded when Zahara arrived, the air thick with the smell of grilled meat and beer. Her contact, a detective she knew only as Kamal, was already seated in a back corner booth, his face partially obscured by shadows. He didn't greet her as she slid into the seat across from him, just pushed a small flash drive across the table. "Michael Odhiambo's case files," he murmured, his eyes scanning the room. "Off the record. If anyone asks, we never had this conversation." Back in her apartment later that night, Zahara plugged the flash drive into her heavily encrypted laptop. The files contained security footage from Michael Odhiambo's office building on the night of his death, footage that had mysteriously disappeared from the official police report. The timestamp showed Michael entering his office at 11:37 p.m., carrying a takeaway coffee and looking exhausted but otherwise normal. 5 minutes later, at 11:42 p.m., a shadowy figure appeared in the hallway outside his office. There was something unnatural about their movements, too smooth, too precise, as if they were gliding rather than walking. At exactly midnight, Michael's body came crashing through his office window, landing on the pavement 9 stories below. The figure reappeared in the hallway at 12:03 a.m. This time, they paused directly beneath a security camera and deliberately held up a phone. The screen displayed a single word: Oraculum. Zahara's blood ran cold. She knew that word. It was Latin for oracle. More importantly, it was the name of her father's unfinished investigation into AI-assisted assassinations before his own mysterious death 10 years earlier. The pieces were beginning to come together in ways that terrified her. Zahara spent the next 3 days following a digital trail that led her through dark web forums, encrypted chat rooms, and a maze of shell companies. Each discovery was more disturbing than the last. All 7 victims had accessed a mysterious dark web forum called the Delphi Network in the weeks before their deaths. Each had received large, untraceable cryptocurrency transfers from an offshore account. Their browsing histories showed identical searches for predictive algorithms and behavioral modeling. Most damning of all, they had all, at various points, worked with or against a powerful tech consortium called Next Gen Dynamics. The final piece fell into place when Zahara uncovered a series of deleted emails between Michael Odhiambo and an anonymous sender discussing something called Project Lazarus. The fragments she could recover mentioned predictive elimination and algorithmic fate enforcement. Zahara's hands shook as she realized the horrifying truth: the oracle wasn't predicting deaths, it was programming them. And someone was using it to systematically eliminate anyone who posed a threat to their technological domination. Her phone buzzed at exactly midnight, the notification lighting up the dark room, at Zahara_news, 72 hours left. Will you publish the truth, or will you die with it? The message was accompanied by a photo, a grainy surveillance image of Zahara sitting in Jova House earlier that day. The timestamp showed it had been taken just minutes after her meeting with Kamal. Zahara didn't sleep that night. Instead, she worked feverishly, following a trail of encrypted emails to an unmarked warehouse in industrial area. With help from her hacker friend Joboli, she bypassed the state-of-the-art security system, no small feat considering it appeared to be military-grade. Inside, the warehouse was eerily silent except for the constant hum of servers. Rows upon rows of them stretched into the darkness, their blinking LED lights creating an almost hypnotic pattern. At the center of the room stood a massive screen displaying a simple message: Oraculum active, targets queued. Before Zahara could react, the screen flickered to life, revealing the face of Silas Mwangi, the billionaire CEO of Next Gen Dynamics. He looked exactly as he did in his carefully curated Forbes interviews, impeccably dressed, perfectly groomed, with a smile that didn't reach his cold, calculating eyes. "I wondered when you'd find us," he said, his voice coming through hidden speakers with crystal clarity. "Your father was close to, before his unfortunate accident." Zahara's hands clenched into fists at the mention of her father. "You're using AI to eliminate your competition," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "The Oracle is just your cover story." Silas's smile widened. "We don't eliminate competition, Ms. Mwangi. We predict threats before they emerge. A necessary evil in the new world we're building." He leaned closer to the camera. "Do you know how many lives our predictive algorithms have saved? How many disasters we've prevented? The few sacrifices are a small price to pay for the greater good." As alarms began blaring throughout the warehouse, Zahara ran, but not before uploading everything to multiple cloud servers with a single click. She barely made it out before black SUVs with tinted windows screeched to a halt outside the warehouse. Zahara's expose published at dawn, sending shockwaves through Kenya's tech community and beyond. By noon, #Oracle Exposed was trending globally, and Interpol had opened an investigation. But when police raided NextGen's offices, they found the servers wiped clean, the evidence destroyed. Silas Mwangi had vanished without a trace. That night, exhausted but alive past her 72-hour deadline, Zahara allowed herself a moment of cautious relief. It was short-lived. As she lay in bed, her phone buzzed with one final notification. "At the Oracle_ZA has started following you." The game wasn't over. It had just moved south.